Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to look at Puffin for his new video, RPG story. I've been running Pathfinder 2e for over a year now. Now, I know of Pathfinder, and what I do know is it's hyper complicated and fiddly as F, and I have no idea why I haven't started playing it, because everything I just said sounds absolutely amazing, and I'm the kind of person who is like, oh, so there's a million different interactions that are absolutely stupid and will break the game. Why are we not doing this? No, I'm literally asking for anyone in my D&D groups who is watching this right now. One, hey, thanks. Two, why aren't we? Other than the fact that we're creatures of habit. Okay, never mind. I just answered my own question. Damn it. I hate it when I come up with actually good reasons that explain things. Stop convincing me with my own thoughts, damn you. I'm arguing with myself online. Nah, this is par for course at this point. You guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. It's Puffin Forest. It's going to be good. Let's get started.
Hello, welcome. I know that some of you are curious because you see the title, so I'm just going to say it right up front, the thesis statement for the video, which is that I've been running Pathfinder 2nd Edition for a year.
It was in the title.
And I've been having a lot of fun with it. Definitely enjoying it more than when we first started playing it. So,
learning curve. Yeah, for the same reason I just mentioned that I would like it's the fiddly as F stuff, yeah.
Kind of the background to the story.
How hard was it?
I wanted to take a break from 5th edition. I had been running it for several years and kind of wanted to try a different system. I was originally leaning...
For anyone wondering why he might have quit playing 5th edition, oh yeah, congratulations, you just missed the last year. Why did you choose to wake up now? You probably are going to regret that soon. Also, Wizards of the Coast trying very hard to make EA look like a very, very customer-friendly company. EA. They're competing with Blizzard, and I am not going to explain that one. If you know, you know, and if you don't look it up.
Towards running a more rules light game. However, my players were not as interested in
rules light in Pathfinder
because they were like, we want powers and abilities and rules for how those powers interact with each other. So that ended up ruling out Fate or Dungeon World or any of the other light systems out there, and really kind of narrowed
he wasn't
it
actually
down
deciding
the potential games
on Pathfinder yet
that we could jump into. A week later, out of the blue, I had contacted them again and said, hey, how would you guys feel about playing Pathfinder 1st edition, which was a weird choice, but before they could finish roasting me, I was able to explain.
I've heard things about 1st edition. It's very unique, and also there's complexities to it, but not the fun kinds.
Look, I haven't played it in forever, and I actually want to try to again. And I remember it being like really complicated and difficult. And but
you basically need an
better
online
gamers
source
than we were.
Just
plus
do
one
all
of the
the heavy
players
lifting.
Is interested in trying it again because he had played it a while ago, and another player had played it in high school. So yeah, let's do it. So we got into Pathfinder 1st edition. We did a session 0 and a session 1, and that was it. We stopped after that point.
Damn.
It was really rough.
I mean, they tried.
So the first problem we have going into it is that most of my players nowadays kind of need an online character builder or some kind of assistant tool. And
yeah, I'm guilty of that. It is like I can build the character on my own, but I need that sheet to keep everything down and to do all the roles because I will not remember them. Also, I'm an English major. You can assume my math skill is no. And you would be very much overestimating my ability at that point.
And that a lot of the ones that are out there for 3.5 in Pathfinder are kind of old or buggy or out of date. And sometimes when they're building their characters, I'd be like, why do you have this 20th level world-ending sword? And they'd be like, well, the system let me add it to my character sheet. And I'd be like, but it's a 20th level sword. And they'd be
I like it, but I don't think you would.
Give me an error when I added.
I just realized what he drew here. He literally drew the guy going through TSA at the airport pre-check. I didn't know what it was at first. I was like, why is he in a jacket? Why is there lights? He's being scanned. Why do you have a weapon? Okay, yeah. Well played, Puffin. Well played. Also, he's way too nonchalant here. It's literally the face of, I didn't know there was this white powder in my butt. How did that get there? Again, that's a phrase that I am not going to explain, but has unfortunately been said in reality multiple times on record that you can find court cases of online for free. in multiple different countries' online portals. Yeah.
Add it to my sheet, and I have to go no and remove it. And the compounding issue is that I don't know enough about the system to actually fix any of their problems.
Hey, it's like my level of mechanical skill.
Into it like, well, it's our first time playing the system. We'll just keep it simple. Try not to do anything majorly complicated, and then
I think this is now to be referred to as Puffin foresting a group. It's not like putting your players in a railroad situation where they have the illusion of choice. It's where it's off the rails so goddamn much, you're begging for the DM to come back, and he's just in there going, that's cute. I am now going to always and forever refer to this as Puffin foresting someone. Call me on this if I make that mistake, and don't do it.
We cut to 3 hours into character creation, and I'm like looking up stat blocks for monsters because someone decided to go the custom race builder option, and now I got to find a balanced way to homebrew this ability that they want. It also kind of makes me appreciate that normally when we're playing,
because you know how to interact with
individual player knows part of the rules and they're able to correct each other. But here, when we're going into a blind, it's very difficult.
And not all the gears line up.
But I do have a funny story from it. So in this session, the players are fighting some snakes. And I know how snakes are run in 5th edition, where they just kind of have a poison tag to their damage. They hit someone, they roll, maybe they get poisoned, blah, blah, blah. Here, when a snake bites you, they took 1 piercing damage and then rolled Constitution, and then they took like Constitution damage. And all of a sudden, one of the players almost dies from snake bites, and he's having to rest and recover while he's getting his Constitution back, and the cleric's healing magic does nothing because it's poison. It's not like a wound that you can just patch up. So on the one hand,
the snakes just became a very scary enemy. So, admittedly, they're more like actual snakes. But on the other hand, I would not be expecting that, and neither was this guy.
And while the fight was longer and more complicated, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, because there's actual danger.
Story, you know? That
but also
was a
not
snake.
overwhelming.
That felt like a snake. But after that, my group, which normally wasn't interested in 2nd edition, after playing 1st edition, was totally on board. Imagine that.
Now, I alluded to the fact that my knowledge is that it was more streamlined and more sensible, and here's the thing. I know that. I know that it makes more sense and it's easier to get into. Beyond that, I haven't played 2nd edition Pathfinder or 1st edition. But I want to, so I don't actually know how they made it easier. Just everyone I've talked to has had the entire thing of, let's not talk about 1st and let's go to 2nd. Last time they said that, it was about 4th edition in D&D. I'm going to take their word on that one.
So I ended up being kind of in this weird position while being someone that prefers a lighter system, kind of running Pathfinder 2nd edition, even though it wasn't something I was kind of interested in. And then after running it and playing it for several months again, I did kind of come around to see how the system works.
Oh.
I think that sort of the big takeaway for me...
Stockholm Syndrome? Calling it out, it was Stockholm Syndrome.
Large part of that is that there are certain encounters that you can run in Pathfinder that just don't work in 5th edition.
Why?
Well, I don't know if I would say that Pathfinder is a more balanced system. It's just that what it values is very different than in 5e. Because in that system, it kind of wants you to have a wider boards with lots of enemies, and spreading out damage is very important. Whereas I think that in Pathfinder, it sort of wants you to have like one very tall effect or enemy. In Pathfinder, I was originally overwhelmed with a lot of different persistent effects that were happening. I found that...
Oh, so where D&D has turned into spectacle fights like against in maybe an army, or where you have tons of enemies swarming in and swarm tactics and mob rules are actually important. Pathfinder is more the giant, big, bad enemy you have to fight because there's so many ways to break it in D&D. Okay, so it's going ultra narrow but really complex, as opposed to D&D, which is not nearly as complex without homebrewing, but has a wide range of what you can throw at people. Although that might be heavily characterized by my own experience, where throwing about 50 to 78 zombies at a level 3 party was a perfectly acceptable idea for a random encounter that was just a little funny, that the DM thought would be more funny if they added another 50 on top of that after the first few were reanimated, because there was a bunch of dead people they ate previously and they still had corpses there. It wouldn't be so bad, but every goddamn one rolled a crit. I'm not salty. I'm not salty at all, damn it.
that the more and more I GM it, the more I kind of scale it down to be like maybe 1 or 2 sort of active effects at a time, because I know that it's going to be harder to maintain the board state round after round if these are
so he
just
did actually
being
GM
persistent.
it a bit.
I do think I would describe it as kind of more of a lower power fantasy. It's been interesting that the players haven't been really overly excited about their characters or the abilities. Like, there's nothing that they've gotten that they've been overjoyed about. But there is an upside to this, that I, as a GM, almost never encounter one specific power that I need to work around. A lot of times in 5e,
yeah, 5e, especially now, you guys are like, oh, hey, I got the button. It's going to blow you to shreds. Yeah, Polymorph is one of them, and it's amazing. Also Fireball. It's mostly Fireball. He's definitely referencing Fireball. I prefer Polymorph because of just outside combat shenanigans. Oh, many shenanigans. But it's definitely Fireball he's referencing.
The magic is tremendously powerful, but it's balanced around concentration checks. So they kind of have to give you all that power up front, and it makes for very punchy fights. While you could run kind of a shorter, faster, punchier Pathfinder 2nd Edition battle, I think that where the system really shines is these kind of less frequent, longer, grindier games. Since the magic system sort of assumes that the fights are going to be these long slogfests, which is why each fight kind of assumes that the players are entering into it with full hit points, and the magic often involves these very minor but persistent effects. I think that
now that's interesting, where before I said that it was spectacle fights. That's not entirely a good choice to use. It's wide-ranging fights for D&D with a lot of things being thrown at you, but it almost sounds like it's not quite that. It's more like they're expecting you to play with a Nova style in D&D, where you're going to have those giant boom effects, and occasionally they'll have you play against that. But in Pathfinder, they expect you to have to play long, drawn-out games where even if it starts playing a Nova, you need to sustain it, because the game, individual matches just drag on. But if they intentionally work around that, unlike 4th edition, where that was just a coincidence of fighting a single goblin, that might work better.
I would describe that Pathfinder does kind of hold the players down. It does prevent them from using abilities in certain ways, but that's a trade-off. Because on the other hand, what you get is I, as a GM, rarely have an ability that I need to work around. Otherwise, they're just going to completely wreck everything. In my group, we've got an interesting spread of players. We have one player who loves it, has always loved it, super fan. We've got 2 players who are kind of on the fence, who've kind of come around to it.
Oh, that's a fence.
One player who loves us and will play with the game even though it's not his favorite, just because of how much he loves us.
I'm going to be honest, that guy's actually the MVP, just because intentionally doing something you don't like because you like the people you're with is kind of the nicest compliment I can imagine. Unless he's an absolute nightmare to play with because he also still hates it.
And I have a tremendous respect for that player. Also, Path Builder. That app is doing a lot.
Oh, hello there. That is an incredibly clean setup. I like this.
A lot of heavy lifting. Like, I actually don't think we would be playing this game now if we had to do everything by hand like when we first started.
I'm not going to think about that.
There's a lot of stuff that I like the second time around now. I like the fact that it doesn't have magic weapons being the be-all to end-all. I like that it differentiates between different types of physical damage.
Oh.
There's still some stuff I just don't like in the system.
Like
what? Diagonal movement. I've played it and played it.
Because moving diagonally covers more ground. You count that movement differently. The first square of diagonal movement makes you make in a turn counts as 5 feet, but the second counts as 10 feet, and your count thereafter alternates between the first 2. Really? So theoretically, wait, the second counts as 10, so that's 15, and I get what they're going with here. But this is, oh no.
Don't like it. I recently cut it out. I just said if you're going diagonal, if it's 5 squares, it's 5 squares. And everything is 1 for 1, and I'm so glad I did. I think overall, when I compare the 2 games, when I run Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I know that the fights are going to take twice as long as D&D, but that the crunchiness will make for more interesting encounters.
I just said I wanted to bring my D&D group into this just for the sheer nitty-grittiness of it. My average D&D group throws things of like, hey, here's 78 zombies. And it might take a full session a full 6-hour session for a single fight. If we did that here, oh, wow. Yeah, no, this would be a lot. It might be fun if we toned it down, but my entire party is filled with, I think the term is, what is it? I'm actually forgetting the word. Wow, this is embarrassing. Oh yeah, assholes. No, that's not the right one. I mean, it's accurate because I'm there, but more importantly, what's it called when you min-max? Wow, I'm an idiot. Min-maxers, that's the word. Yeah, we're all min-maxers to some extent. And those who weren't were heavily beat over the head until they did it. And then they were. And then we still just roleplay like idiots anyways. We make serious characters so that we roleplay like idiots. And it's actually hilarious. But yeah, that would be 12-hour fights. That's a disincentive.
And that the system wants to have every single attack feel unique. Like if you're attacking with a forceful weapon versus an agile weapon, like those tags matter. But that uniqueness comes with a downside. And the downside is time. But the decisions they're making in combat will be more impactful. The more time you spend running it, it will get faster. But I'm just talking about like 20 to 30% faster. It's never going to be 0.
I mean, there
was one time where the players fought these alchemical golems, and they got positively wrecked by them. The party fled the fight and rested, recovered, and the next adventuring day just redid the fight. It was just a kind of a hard reset, everything exactly the same spell slots, same everything. Okay, let's just do the fight again. And the second time the players wrecked the golems. And it was just because they were better the second time around at kind of taking advantage of these little efficiencies and found ways to use their actions to kind of kite the golems and forcing them to waste their turns.
So it is so nitty gritty, but at the same time, that is, if just the sheer construction of an enemy enables that is actually really cool. I mean, yeah, if someone knows what they're doing, they'll do it anyways, but you can do that in D&D already, so it doesn't change anything. It feels kind of like having a Dark Souls boss where learning the pattern is more important than being able to hit them hard. Unless you're an idiot and you need to hit them hard immediately because you can't do muscle memory to save your life. I don't know anyone like that. That would be really awkward, though.
So I guess now we're getting into the... Hello, welcome. I know that some of you are curious because you see the title. I'm going to waste their turns.
Pretend I didn't do that.
So I guess now we're getting into the end of it, and you're probably wondering whether or not I'd be recommending it to people. And it's still
maybe
a very hard question to answer, because I kind of feel like it's a strong, dark roast of coffee, which I developed a taste for it, but I don't know if I'd...
I'm going to be completely honest here. That is the most impactful way someone could possibly say to get into a system, because a hard, dark roast of coffee to me is like saying, do this. Do it now. Don't you wait. Get the fucking book. I might have to get this.
Actually recommended. Like, it's still pretty crunchy. And while it's easy to just roll a d20 and add the number, like, that's not the game. The game of Pathfinder is a tight resource management where you have this limited pool of actions for bonuses and penalties and trying to make decisions on what's the most efficient way to do the thing that you want to do.
Again,
and if all the players are not on board with that, you're going to have a miserable time. And you could end up with a group like mine who enjoy spending X amount of time adding up all these little bonuses. Or like our friend who loves us and will put up with our nonsense.
Yeah, definitely the MVP. So I'm getting into Pathfinder, apparently. That's just going to have to happen now because that is literally kind of insanely cool. I like the nitty gritty. I like all that determination where, okay, how do we optimize this? And if that is the way you play it, I want that because that sounds like fun. Because I'll be honest, the time I enjoy D&D the most right now is building a character to see how can I fuck this shit up in such a way that it's going to make the DM ban this guy. Followed by then role-playing in stupid ways to just take advantage of abilities out of combat to see if the DM doesn't realize just how stupid they can get. Like having an obscenely high score in deception and trying to maybe convince a sailor that his lake is actually an ocean because gaslighting someone into doing stupid shit and maybe believing the most evil member of your party is actually a saint is funny to me. I'm a monster. I play characters that way. Even when they're serious and they're not supposed to be, I do that. I'm that asshole. But it sounds good. Like nitty gritty. And if we didn't have the online portals to help with all of that, not possible. But with them, this sounds like something I need to get into. So basically what I'm saying is I'm going to see if Puffin has a link anywhere on his video to an affiliate to maybe buy the Pathfinder book, and I'm going to use that. Who needs money? Still cheaper than Dingo every time she puts any ad in her videos. So you guys know, there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. It's Puffin. It was really good, and I can't wait to see the next one he does because they're always fun. I just like getting ideas for what to do in games from him. It's fun. Again, hit it up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.